Simon, it's great to talk to you again. How are you doing today?
I'm good, mate. How are you? Long time no chat.
Yeah, I know. It's been since you guys were trying to steal a body that we chatted,
Hey,
you and your brother. That was a
listen,
real good
Emmanuel,
time.
whatever they pay the dollars for, okay? Whatever it is, that's what Simon's gonna do. Otherwise, I have to get a real job. You understand? Like, I just can't do that.
Yeah, I've heard that before, but I mean, I guess what would you consider a real job then?
I do anything at an office that's Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. That's what I consider a real job. People that actually go to work and do. I have total respect for these people because you're like, I don't know how you pretend to care because that's what they're paying for. They're paying for you to pretend to care about the weekly sales report or whatever, sort of with spreadsheets and so on and so on forth. But you could work in obviously you could work in an office and do something really creative, like sort of. I like all those things, but lots of these jobs aren't that.
No, I mean, heck, let's talk about the job that you just did. It released today, Fubar with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's
That
right.
is definitely not a typical office job.
It's
Tell me a little
not.
bit about the series
Right, this is Fubar. It's out May 25th today
today.
on
Yeah.
Netflix. It is Arnold Schwarzenegger's first ever TV show, and it's a lot of fun. It's action comedy. It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Like it feels like a bit of a throwback to like the '90s stuff. That to be honest, I'm an '80s baby, so I love all this stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a bit like if you've ever seen the movie True Lies, it's a bit like it's
Yeah.
sort of a nod to that a little bit. He's a CIA operative, but he hasn't told his family, and now his daughter is also CIA, and she hasn't told him. And mayhem ensues when they find out about each other having to sort of force to work together to unravel. I'm not allowed to. I've got 5 pages of things right next to me that I cannot tell you about the show. So otherwise, somebody knocks at my door and then somebody just kills me, and because I've said something I shouldn't have. So I took a read through. I didn't realize when I did this show that there would be homework, but there's five
Oh
pages of
no.
stuff I have to read here that tells me the things I can and cannot say to you.
Well, one of the cool things is, and maybe not so cool at the same time, but take it as you will. I thought it was cool when I saw you very early on in episode one, and and you kind of get you get a correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know if this is too much spoilers. Maybe I won't just say it, but
Well, you've
I think
started now, Emmanuel. Jesus, you can't leave the
yeah.
audience like that.
Are you the first person he takes out
That's
in the
yeah.
series?
Well, look, I'm not allowed to confirm that, but in a fight between myself and Arnold Schwarzenegger, what do you think happens to me? So that would be what I would say. But yes, um, this is his first ever TV show. I'm
Mhm.
in the first episode. I am the first person he actually talks to. I
Yeah.
welcome Arnold Schwarzenegger to the world of TV or the world of streaming. Anyway,
Yeah, so
that's cool.
that's actually what made me laugh was, when he sits down and then I saw you, I went, "Oh, I was like, "Look at Simon, he gets to be the first. Oh, this doesn't bode well for him."
No, it doesn't bode well. I'll give you that. It's not a great. You're like, hey, I'm the first person. You're like the first bad guy he talks to. I mean, it's a great position and terrible all at the same time. But hey, it's with Arnold Schwarzenegger. What's not to like?
No, seriously. I mean, you're telling me you're an '80s baby, which means that you grew up with probably with, some of the best action movies that were made. I mean, I'm such a big RoboCop fan. I mean, Predator, all the Terminator films and everything in between. And now you get a scene, not like a CGI scene or anything, just a straight up scene, face to
I
face across the table with Arnold Schwarzenegger. How was that for you?
That was as epic as it sounds, right? Sometimes they have this thing of like, don't meet your heroes, right? Sort of. But this was not one of those times. He was so nice. By the way, he's like 75. If I have the energy that he has at 75, I don't even think I've got the energy he has right now. Sort of. Never mind at 75. The man is so cool. He takes time. He says good morning to everybody. He's very polite. You know, he's he's obviously clearly the most important person in the room and never makes you feel like that. Sort of he never has that attitude. Um, he's super cool. Let me tell you what needs to happen as well. I've been very lucky in my life, Emmanuel. I've got managed to rack up a lot of these people, like sort of like I have Mark Hamill, Rutger Hauer, Jean-Claude Van Damme, sort of Bruce Willis, and now Arnold Schwarzenegger. But somebody needs to get me Sylvester Stallone. and then I've
Oh.
completed the set of. You know what I mean? I've worked. I've got all of them. Then all the 80s, 90s icons.
Well, I mean, yeah, because you've worked with quite a few people. Well, I mean, Arnold's probably a good resource for that. You worked with him on the Expendables for a couple of
Yeah.
films.
Now, despite what you might think, I was like, let's swap numbers. He did not give me his number. No,
Okay,
no, I
well,
didn't say that. but
you
but
could
if I
have.
had said that, somebody would have been like, "No, Simon." I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's fine."
I know,
I was asking. Yeah,
I know he's very passionate about working out. So maybe if you would have been like, "Yeah, I don't really feel like working out," you would have lit a flame under him, and you would have taken you
yeah.
straight to the
If I'd
gym.
said he's very good about obviously working out and
Mhm.
fitness and stuff like that, but obviously I'm not gonna I'm gonna tell you something you probably didn't know, Emmanuel. Simon's not a fan of any of those things. So that doesn't But if I'd said, you know what, I'm going to start to work out, I think he'd have been my mentor. He'd have been like, yeah, let's do this. Sort of. It would have been a great. That's how I could have got in. But I didn't.
Yeah.
Instead, I was. It was like plans later on. I was like, probably just going to go for beers, to be honest. And obviously he's going to go to the gym. Something like really really good for you. And obviously I had nothing in common there because I was going to go to the bar straight afterwards. So
Yeah, well, I think you and I can never be gym partners in that case because we'd
yes,
be
no,
headed to the gym and you'd be like, why don't we get some beers instead? And I'd be like, but yeah, sure. Yeah, okay.
so you're just saying there that you're as weak as me, Emmanuel.
I
You
really
want to
am.
be. Listen,
I
you
am.
want to be good. I get that. People want to be good, and you're like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm just the sort of the other devil on their shoulder saying, nah, let's just get pizza and beer.
Sounds like a good idea. Pizza and beer with Fubar would be great too.
There you go. See,
Being that you work with so many action stars and a fan of the genre, how do you think this does as far as balancing out action and then you have also, the comedy, and in between
um,
that you still have a really good father-daughter story.
I think it's a great mix of it because sometimes when I see these action movies or TV shows and something, the action it takes itself too seriously, and
Mhm.
Fubar is a reminder of that True Lies show, and sort of that's what I was saying, um, and that's for me because they get the blend of action and comedy completely perfect. It's like it's sort of elevated comedy, and that's what makes it really fun. Is that yeah, it doesn't take itself too seriously, sort of, but it is there, sort of. So I don't know. Sometimes I think Nick Santora, Dana Goldboy, they did great job in getting this show the way it is because it was a lot of fun to make, and I think when you watch it, you can feel that.
Yeah, yeah, it's nothing like you've seen before. Well, not that you've seen in a while. That's actually more what
I
I
think is
meant.
that's the thing. It's this nostalgia thing. It's actually it feels like something a bit 90s. Like it's
Mhm.
sort of it's having fun, and I think that's a big part of what's going to make it a big hit. I hope it's a huge hit. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely the attraction of the fact that Arnold's now on television, which was really strange for a moment.
But
Of
yeah, it was really, and the fact that he's never done it before. Like, when somebody said, "Yes, this is his first ever TV show," I was like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, can you think of another one?" And I was like, no, I can't. No, yeah, fair enough."
yeah, it was done well. Where does he rank as far as working with different action stars, or is there someone who still is, you know what, I had the best time with this specific action star.
Now, oh no, he's number one. Oh, it's
Oh,
number one.
okay.
Come on, it's got to be number one. The only person that could knock him off his pedestal is Sylvester Stallone, but I won't know that until Sylvester rings and says, "Simon, come and do the movie." I don't know what
Well,
movie that
we'll get
would
the
be.
word out.
Well, yeah, we're gonna put it out in the universe. Netflix needs to help me with this, or somebody needs to help me with this. I was like, how do I complete this set? I'm one away. One. That's it. And then you know what, Emmanuel? Then I retire, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out. See you.
Until the phone rings again and it's the
Until
next
the
one.
phone rings, and then I'm back because then I'd realize, I don't really have any other job or any other place to be. So
You don't want to end up in office with a tie.
exactly. I mean, do you know what happened? I would go. I would just have problems there. Like not me. They'd have problems with me because I wouldn't be taking it seriously, and they'd want to go. We need you to, take this seriously. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I'd be at a call center selling pet insurance, and I'd be like, yeah, I don't know what you want me to do. I just can't take it seriously. I want to for you because I can see how you take it seriously. I can't because I'm aware of what it is we're doing.
So
I'm
you-
sorry.
so a total case of Office Space then.
It is. It's that I just couldn't. I couldn't engage. But they would be like, "This is very important." I was like, "I don't. Yeah, it's not very important, is it? Like, saving babies is very important. If you're in a hospital and you're a doctor, that's very important. If you work in an office selling insurance or something. You know, it's not very important, is it? You know, sort of, there's no. I mean, you know, it's a job. I get it. You know,
Mhm.
sort of these people all work very hard at their job so they can feed their children and pay their mortgage and go on holiday. I totally get it. I was like, but to say it's very important is kind of is it? No, no.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I work in a newsroom, so I'm in the half of the building that does the news, and that if a big story happens, the entire place turns into like a disrupted colony of ants. While
Yes.
sales on
Well,
the
I
other
imagine, you
side,
see, that's the news, I imagine, is quite exciting because it's immediate and it's fast paced. That would
yeah,
keep me, that would actually be, I think that would be interesting because also you're also informing people and you're getting, sort of, this sort of, the news is kind of important a little bit, but also it's halfway in between entertainment and, like sort of, because you have to sort of you have to make stories. You have to give people a beginning, middle, and end, and sort of for something they didn't know about 5 minutes ago. You know how it is.
yep.
You haven't got long to get this story across. So yeah, that's if there was an office environment, it'd be a news one because that's always changing, and there's a news
Mhm.
cycle. And it's always that was one I could get behind.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the fun. What I was trying to say is that's the fun half, and then there's the
Yes, that's
sale. There's
probably
the
that's probably an office you could work in. That
Yeah, and then there's the
the
sales side on the other side, which I don't know.
See, now that's different. Yeah, you
Yeah,
see, you see, so you're probably able to see the side of the office you don't want to be on.
yeah.
Go, I don't want to be over there.
Not to
I
say
don't.
it's not
I'm not
important
sure what they're
because
doing, to be honest. Yeah.
yeah, not to say it's not important because their sales are the ones that pay my pay my wage
Yeah,
anyway.
see, Manuel, what you've done now is you got afraid of it. You're going, oh, damn it. If one of these guys watches this little
Yeah,
segment and I'm saying that sales doesn't matter, they'll be like, oh, really?
yeah.
Sort of,
There goes my salary. That ain't
yeah, they'll be
fun.
like, yeah, you just got a demotion somehow. And you're like, damn it.
The supply and demand, I think, right now says
Yeah.
otherwise, but it's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, but life is funny like that,
No,
mate.
yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. Um, so back to action films a little bit. For you, what makes a great action film? Like, or do you believe that there's, kind of like in horror, there's different type of horror. There's
Do you know
also
what?
different type of action
There is
films.
different types of action, I guess, but I'm a fan because I'm an '80s baby, right?
Hmm.
I'm a fan of that '80s, '90s action film that they just sort of don't make anymore. Sort of it doesn't seem that they make that big blockbuster. They try every now and then. And a couple of these things get close. Like Pirates of the Caribbean used to feel a little close to that sort of, sort of a blockbuster in the old school and stuff like that. But sometimes when they're doing it, the balance isn't quite right. I don't know what it is. It's like it was trapped in time. Also, with these guys, Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, they're not making them anymore. These guys, there's no new Arnold Schwarzenegger, there's no new, sort of, they kind of these guys are just getting older, sort of, and they're still working, which is great because people
Hmm.
love them, sort of, and we want them to be this. Like, the idea that Arnold Schwarzenegger is still doing this at 75 is kind of silly. I was like, but people love him so much and he's in such great shape that it actually makes total sense, and you're like, this is exactly who we want this guy to be, sort of, but they're not making any new ones. So it always feels like it's trapped in time. So anytime
Hmm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger makes a new show, it makes me think of things from the 80s and 90s anyway. So that's the nostalgia value of it. And so I don't know. I'm a big fan of like Terminator 2.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
a big fan of like odd movies. So you probably Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Big,
Hmm.
sort of those sort of big movies. Cliffhanger. All I don't know, Demolition Man. I like the whole thing. I
Yeah.
like sort of I like those big movies. They didn't take themselves too seriously, but they were huge, big movies. Sort of. And I don't know. That's where my heart is. So that's why Fubar feels right at home for me. This is good because sometimes I've been involved in a few films, and I wouldn't watch some of them. And I don't mean that rudely, sort of, but I mean like the genre isn't. I'm not actually. I make a lot of horror movies, but I'm not actually a big horror movie fan. Sort of, I actually much prefer this sort of thing, sort of, so I would actually sit and watch this whether I was in it or not.
Yeah. I know I was gonna ask you right now, what do you think one of the biggest differences is between 80s action films and kind of what they're doing now? And I think you hit it when you said they don't take themselves too seriously. And
Yeah,
it makes me think of, moments in the past, like in RoboCop where the robot is just slipping and sliding and it just looks goofy.
yeah,
Or one of my favorite Arnold action films is The Running Man. I'm not sure if you've seen that
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love
Oh,
The
since
Running Man. You have like the old lady with the board game
that's right. Yeah, like, but
and
all those little moments are like Die Hard is another one. You know, sort
mhm.
of a big movie, and probably Die Hard was probably one of the smaller movies of the time. Actually, it probably wasn't actually a huge movie. But you know, it because it didn't take itself too seriously. You know, sort of there's lots of comedy sort of in there, just in like in sewn into the performances or the actors doing it. You know, sort of, and that's what made it fun. I think that's the thing. There's a sort of a wonderful innocence about them, even though they're like violent and stuff. There's actually quite a lot of innocence about those movies. That's what reminds me of them.
Yeah,
If you
all
look
of
back
the
at them, there was very little sex and drugs in all of those movies. You know, sort of it was action, but it was sort of it was a wonderful sort of childlike innocence, actually. You know, sort of the good guy doing the good thing. You know, sort of yeah, I like that.
yeah, yeah, and you know, it's a good conversation to have because sometimes the new films are very overproduced and very, you said, very serious
Yeah.
to the point where it's like, oh, you know, it's a good, but it's kind of, I guess it's missing
It's
that
like they're
heart.
trying to every new movie on it. It's like trying to make it's trying to win an award or trying to make a point, and you're like,
Yeah.
nah, it doesn't. You know, it doesn't have to. You know, sometimes these things are pop. You know, like these movies were. I remember somebody saying once that the movie was forgettable, and you're like, yeah, I mean, you know, the problem was is that people made it thinking you know, we must have impact on the audience, and you're like, sometimes you watch a movie and you enjoy it. And then you're right, like when you leave it, you next week you don't really remember it, but you've enjoyed the 90 minutes it took to watch. Do you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
that was the movie kind of passed the time, and you're like, yeah, I like that. You know, so could I tell you about it next week? No, maybe not. You know, sort of, but that's it. Didn't you know? You didn't have to. You know, sort of. It's you know that's what people overproduce things. I think is a good word. You know, so they overthink it and they make it too much, and it doesn't have to be. You know, and they forget what they're doing. But not with like with Fubar, and so these guys got like crazy amount of money, by the way. They got $200 million to make this show, I think. And you know, but they had fun with it. It's like they were $200 million, and they were like, do you want to blow all that money up? And they're like, yes, you know, sort of, and you're like, brilliant. You know, it's like a kid with candy and fireworks. You know, they're like, what do you want to do? Just buy all the candy and fireworks. And you're like, brilliant. Let's just do that. And that's what makes it tremendous fun is that they didn't take it too seriously. And I love that.
Yeah, it works, and I think where it got me, I'm really a sucker for. Well, I have one daughter, she's 12. I'm a sucker for that father daughter story, and
Oh yes, yeah, okay, there you
and
go. That's going
espe-
to appeal to you then, yeah.
yeah, especially because he has to go through in the series accepting his daughter for who she is, for who she's grown into, and I have to deal with. I'm currently dealing with my 12-year-old turning into a teenager,
A
and
12-year-old turning into a 29-year-old.
yeah. So, so that was very appealing to me, and that's really what, besides obviously Arnold, is what kept me hooked, because it it means
Well,
something to me.
it's a beautiful bit of the show, isn't it? Because it's you know, like his time is coming to an end. She's the current
Mhm.
generation, really. You know, sort of. He's got a thing or two to teach her still. You know, sort of. And she still wants to be. It's funny because she still wants to be daddy's girl a little bit. You know, sort of. You know, but she's a woman in her own right, so she doesn't need it. You know, sort of. So it's kind of like handing the reins over. You know, sort of.
Right.
And obviously, the new generation and the old generation don't mix very well, but that's where the comedy comes from. You know, sort of is that you know she's a bit sharp. She's probably actually better at the job than he is. You know, sort
Yeah.
of. It's just a different job. You know, sort of because the time has passed. But that's it's quite nice. You know that they work it. Well, I can't spoil the show again. I've got these 5 pages of things I can't say. But anyway, they work together. I think we can say that probably.
Yeah, no, because I as I'm telling you that, I was like, "Wait, was I supposed to?" But I remember the synopsis, and I was like, "Oh wait, no, that's in
No,
that's in the
I think that's
description.
a
It's
given.
okay.
Don't worry. I think
Yeah,
that's
we're
a
not
given. Yeah.
we're not in trouble. Nobody's knocked at your door yet." Um,
No, no, not yet. I mean, give it time.
so, I think what I want to wrap up with is ask you. I know it was a short time that you got to work with him, but kind of like me, I get short bursts to talk to people like you. What was your takeaway from just your few minutes of being on scene with Schwarzenegger?
Do you know what? Just do what Arnold does, and just keep him. You know, it's positive energy. You know, sort of. The guy is full of positivity, and that's how he manifests everything. He go. You know, at some point he was an '80s, '90s action star, or he was a bodybuilder, and then he decided he was going to be a movie star, and people must have been like, "Yeah, I don't. I mean, you don't look like what movie stars look like, and you don't sound like what they sound like." You know, sort of. And he just manifested it into being, and then when he was the most famous guy in the world, he decided he was going to be a politician and run California.
Mhm.
And then he did that, and it's just positivity, positivity, positivity. He just sort of manifests it. And you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And that man is, I mean, he's the blueprint for that for me.
Yep. So I will also tell you that you can get in a movie with Sylvester Stallone
That's
through
it.
the power
Put it
of
out in the
positivity.
universe. Let's make that happen. Look, the next time I talk to you, I'm gonna have done. I'll be talking to you about that me and Sylvester's movie together.
Yeah, that's gonna be very, very exciting because
Because then I'll have completed the set. It'll be
I'll
my
take,
retirement interview. So I'm like, I'm not doing it again. That's it. I've done everything. I'm
I'll
out.
take like 0.5 credit for it
Okay. Good.
because I helped put it out there in the universe. Okay, one super last thing. What are your top three Arnold movies?
All right. I've got to go Terminator 2, number one. I'm gonna go True Lies, number two, because I really do like True Lies. And then I'm a sucker for Predator.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, there's my three.
awesome. I have to go with just because of how much of an impact it had on me as a kid. Jingle All the Way to this day is my
And these aren't bad
just
choices. Don't worry, yeah.
Terminator 2 is two, and then The Running Man.
The Running
I
Man.
can't get enough of
I knew
that,
you were
you
gonna
know.
mention the Running Man because you said it earlier.
Yeah, it's just very it's kind of corny in one way with
Look, man,
everybody's
what it
different
is
characters.
you see it at a certain age in your life, like sort of, and it just for some you're like with the Running Man, you're like, I know it's not the best movie, but because it has an impact on you, sort
Hmm.
of, and you really go, well, I have a lot of love for this movie, like Jingle All the Way. I have a lot of love for this movie because whatever you were in
Yeah,
your life
true.
were doing at that time, it was like, well, it just represents it's a good memory, and you're like, hey man, that's what movies are, good
Yeah,
memory.
yeah, you're absolutely right. My
That's
daughter's
what.
favorite Arnold movie right now, and I don't know if it'll ever change just because of how much fun she had with it, is she loves Batman and Robin. Uh
Okay, yeah, I mean,
because sh she never took the movie like seriously, so
no.
she enjoys all the puns and just how kind of ridiculous it is, and Arnold's one of her favorite characters.
Yeah, well, there you go. See, so, but there's no right or wrong answer, is there? It's like,
No,
well, it's whatever, whatever you think, sort of. That's the one that gets me.
that's the beauty of the medium. Simon, thank you so much for your time today. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You're a beacon of positivity, and
Thank
I'm
you,
rooting
mate.
for you and Stallone to come
Alone.
together.
Stay tuned. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna put it into the universe, mate. It's happening.
And congratulations on Fubar and getting the opportunity to do that awesome scene. That actually, it's going to go down. I think, and it's like what it could be a trivia question. You never know. Who's the first? Who's the first person
Who's the
Arnold
first
takes out?
person? Yeah, do you know what? If I got Stallone, it'd be like, who'd be the only person that's worked with all these people? And
Yeah,
then I could be the answer to a Trivial Pursuit question. This would be good. That's my new goal in life, is to be somewhere buried in a Trivial Pursuit question.
immortality.
There you go.
Simon,
Thank you,
thanks
Emmanuel.
again.
Lovely talking to you, mate.
Likewise, have a great day.